Hello, I'm Dr. David Kordowitz, and welcome to Computer Programming. Today we're going to discuss the use of the serial port and serial monitor on Arduino to help you display things such as debug states or solutions to problems to the screen. Let's begin. For today's lesson, we're going to begin with the code that we completed in the previous lesson. So we have a flashing light module here that turns the light on and off, and right now I have it set to a pace of about every half second. So what do we need to do if we want to see what the state is on the computer screen rather than looking at the Arduino itself? So to do this, we need to use the serial monitor. So the first step in using anything serial on Arduino is to go ahead and start the serial port. To do this, you simply type serial dot begin. You're then going to put 9600 in the parentheses. This is what's known as the baud rate. This is the speed at which the data will come from the board back to the computer. There are some standard baud rates, although 9600 tends to be the standard for Arduino. You can change it to whatever you want, but most documentation you see is going to use 9600. The next step with the Arduino Circuit Playground Express is that we need to make sure that we don't push forward and try to write to the serial port before the board is ready. To do this, we're going to use what's known as a while loop. Now, we haven't talked about loops yet, but this is the most simple implementation of one. So it's just going to be while, and what we want to check is we want to say while not serial. So what this means is while there is not a serial port in existence, and then we're going to do a semicolon. What this means is it's going to keep repeating the check for serial until there's a serial port available. If there's not a serial port available, your program will become stuck at that point. This is not required for all Arduinos that you do this. However, it will work on all Arduinos. So in other words, things like the Arduino Uno or Duo, those don't actually require you to make sure that the serial port is there. It will simply hold the data until the port exists. However, on the boards like the Circuit Playground Express and some of the Arduino makers and most of the 32-bit boards, honestly, if you haven't activated the serial port and made sure that it's there, you're going to lose data if you try to write to serial before it begins. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go down to our program in our loop. Now we need to write out to the serial port, and we want to write out what the state is. So to do this, we're simply going to use serial dot println, and then we're going to say state. Now the println, the line at the end, tells it to put a new line after it prints the number. You can use serial.print, so something like this, serial.print, and then you can put something, say a comma or something like that. So let's put it in quotes. You don't actually have to put it in quotes, it can be in single quotes, but that's okay. So it's going to print a comma, and then it's going to print our state. Now every time it's going to print the comma, there's no character return because I didn't say print line, and it's going to over here print our state. So let's go ahead and write this to hardware, and we're simply going to hit the upload button. Should take a second or two while it compiles our sketch, and once it's complete, it'll be loaded to hardware. As you see, that window pops up and then goes away. So now we've written this to hardware, and our blinking light should begin flashing. And so now we want to know, okay, so what's going on? So let's take a look at what is happening on our board. So we come up to the top of our IDE window and come across to this little magnifying glass. That is our serial monitor. When we click on the serial monitor, we can see that the numbers are going 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, and you can see the commas there. Now it's important to note on some of the boards that while not serial will apply to the serial monitor, such as on this board. So if the serial monitor is not open, the program will not begin running. So in addition to this, we have available the serial grapher. This is another very useful tool. But let's take a look at how that works. So for the purposes of this, we're now going to delete this comma here because that comma becomes irrelevant and becomes more distracting. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite this to hardware so we can show you what's going on. So if I open up the serial monitor now, you're going to see it's just going to go 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So let's close the serial monitor, and we can now go to Tools and choose the serial plotter. If we do this, we are now going to get a graphical representation of what we were previously looking at as numbers. So basically, our line hits 1, and then the next time we're through, it hits 0, and 1, and 0. So this is a sawtooth type wave. And so the plotter is giving us the ability to see up close and personal what is actually going on. The serial monitor and plotter can be used for both an output and for debugging, which we'll discuss in a further video. Thank you for your time today, and see you next time.